Okay.
Yay. All right. So hi everyone, Wayne Levy here, and welcome to our community. For the brand new people, lovely to see some familiar faces. Glad to see everyone got the memo to wear black. Thank you, Sunitha, Lana, Sharon, Aaron, myself, and Kim, Karen, with the memo to wear black. You didn't get the memo, no problem. Doesn't matter. You look good in whatever you wear. So, Reese, well, you're half wearing a black t-shirt, so thumbs up to you. Guys, however you find us, fantastic and welcome. This call that we do weekly is going to evolve in the next few sessions. We're really excited about that because we're very serious about personal development. We're serious about helping people improve themselves. I know many people are going through transformation of all kinds, be it that it's trying to lose weight for summer or trying to get into shape or changing associations, relationships, maybe looking at different jobs and saying, how do I make extra money? Everyone's trying to change in in their lives because as human beings, if we stand still, if we're forever the same, well, what's the point? We've got to move and we've got to try and get somewhere, and we have to grow. And that's the magic of us as human beings, is that we've all got the ability to grow. Just to go backwards before we go forwards into tonight's topic, the last few calls that we've done have been really, I think, have been really cool. We've talked about aligning will and desire. We've talked about some of the demons in our lives or vampires that we hang around. We've talked all kinds of things that allow us to take notes. And again, everything revolves around, like Jim Rohn would say, for things to change, you have to change. And tonight, I want to reflect with something that happened to me personally on the weekend. And I made a few notes as a result of it because I sit in a space where I've got a little bit of time on my hands and I can actually go, wow, that was a cool feeling. I'm just going to sit and reflect on what I just felt. And I thought I'd share it with you, and then we'll go around the grounds, and maybe everyone has had a similar situation happen to themselves where uh, they've actually asked themselves a few questions. Let me just come with me, if you will. So there I am, and I'm sitting outside. I'm by the pool. And here in Victoria or here in Melbourne over the last several days, we've had our gusty winds. Let's face it, for those people who live in Melbourne, the weather might be, it might be raining, it might be hot, but for whatever reason, it's always windy. Sometimes that gust of wind is 5 kilometers an hour. Sometimes it goes up to 60 kilometers an hour. And there I was just sitting there trying to relax in some warmer weather. And then all of a sudden, this massive gust of wind hit the trees, and I actually felt the wind go through the trees. And more so, I felt and heard the rustling of the leaves through the trees. And I said to myself, at that moment, I contemplated what I was listening to and where I was. And here are the questions that I asked myself because nothing was constant at that moment. The wind came through. All of a sudden, I heard the rustle, I heard the change, and I felt, wow. And for me, that's always a sign for me to ask myself a couple of questions. And here are the questions that I wrote down. I want you to write these down. Number one, are you happy? Maybe that wind's blowing just for a reason. And one of the questions I asked myself was, am I happy or am I behind on my dreams? Am I grateful for what I've already got? The rustling of the leaves for me, that sound is like life is moving. Everything is constant in its change. Everything is constant for me in its growth. And I had to ask myself a couple of questions that really awakened me. And another one I wrote down was this. When was the last time? This is a great question. I felt truly alive with possibility of change. When was the last time I felt truly alive with the possibilities that were before me, the possibility of doing something completely different and changing a circumstance. Truly alive with that possibility, not saying, oh, yeah, maybe, no, oh, yeah, wow, I'm so excited about that possibility. I know I had another conversation with my good friend Kim Bromer today. We, we talked a few ideas on possibility of doing something, and those possibilities mean nothing, obviously, unless they're actioned. So the possibility of doing something and then having the ability to action it straight away will force that change for something new to happen. And if you look at the seasons of change, which I'm not going to quote throughout all of Jim Rohn's, seasons of change, because that's a heck of a YouTube video that I recommend that you all take the time to watch, where he goes through, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and the seasons of awakening and the seasons of growth and the seasons of reflection and the seasons of stillness and everything that's involved in the certain, reaping and growing and nurturing and sitting back and working. All that is within the seasons of your life. When is the time to harvest? When is the time to reflect? When is the time to sit still? I've always thought this, and I'm going to go around the grounds, and then I'm going to give you some ideas in a minute. But for me, nothing is the same. Every day, there's a new opportunity to do something. One thing I do know about change is that it's constant. And everyone says, I've changed. Oh, yes, yeah, well, yeah, what, today you've changed? Well, what about tomorrow? What about the next day? Wait till life gives you something else to force you to change again. It's not like you change and then you've changed, is what I'm trying to say. You change every single day, and every single day you've got an opportunity to change some more and leave a few things behind to create new habits and go within yourself and forget the past and start again something new. And that takes a lot of courage to really, really change. And I'm not, you know, and I change, we've done seminars on this before. And I truly, and I'm going to go to Kim in a minute, but I want to go around the ground. I rarely see people actually change, Kim. I see people move in a direction and then for whatever reason come back to where they were. You know where I'm going here? Very rarely do I see people actually change. Do you know what I mean? Over to you.
Yes, we do it for a little bit, and then we sort of come back. And one of the reasons for that is that self-image, the person that you think you are, and that's we got to be. They do say that I think it's the Jesuits that said, "Show me a child or at the age of 7, and I'll show you the man." They say that by the age of 7 years of age is everything that who we are going to become, our self-image, and we're always struggling with that. With me, I mean, I'm always struggling. That's one of the reasons why I continually do personal development. Why I continually have to work on myself, because I know that my mind will slide back to the person that I think I am, not the person that I wish I were. And so it's just one of those things. It's like I think it was the best way of explaining it is, we've got this tape recorder in our brain that we grew up. I always say that, we were born, whoever you believe in, the good Lord or infinite intelligence, whatever it is, they created you a 10 out of 10. You're this baby and you're a 10 out of 10, but you've got no program. So you're a computer and you're looking around how life works, and you're looking at your parents and you look at this and you look at your brothers and your sisters, and you grow up and then you go to kindergarten and then you go to school and they say you've got to sit in a desk and be in a row. No, no, cows are not purple, they're brown. And all of a sudden we're scripted to a certain way to think and to become. And then you go to school and to high school, and you have friends, and people say, no, you're too fat, you're too short, you're too slow, you're too tall, and you start to believe those things. And then we grow up, and we've got these limitations that we've put on ourselves. Our biggest problem is being able to break through and get rid of those limitations. Now the problem is they're on a tape. You can't erase it, but you can tape over it by taping over it. But you need to, it's called spaced repetition. You need to be able to use affirmations to be able to change who you are by saying, this I am, using some words like I am, and then the words of who you want to become. And also association changes who you are. Being in a community, in isolation, it's difficult, but they do say you're the sum of the average of the 5 people you hang around with. So if you take 5 people you hang around with and you divide their income, and well, you're going to be earning about the same. You're going to be about the same as the 5 people you hang around with as far as your weight is concerned. Yeah. So community, affirmations are the two big factors that you can, but you've got to keep on working at it. It's not just a once-a.
Look, change, and again, let's focus on this because the seasons of change, the rustling of the wind through the leaves. Write this down in your notes, guys. Change starts as a whisper, and then it has to turn into a storm. It starts as a breath of wind, and a breath of wind isn't going to do much. But if a breath of wind becomes a storm, then it's going to uproot some trees, and it's going to make some environmental changes. So the changes in your life, you have to ask yourself, it's going to start as a thought. It's going to start as a whisper, but then you have to go through a bit of a storm and an upheaval to really move yourself something. So my question to you is this: what is life telling you right now? That's a great question to ask yourself. What is life telling you right now? Are you listening to what life is telling you right now? If life is telling you that it's time to move, it's time to change, then my recommendation is don't resist that intuitive thought, that intuitive whisper. Okay? It's probably change. You have to you have to understand change is not your enemy. Change is an opportunity for you to evolve into something superior to where you are already at. It could be the turning point. Someone who's got resolve and says, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to look this way anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I don't want to have this bank balance anymore. I don't want to be this average anymore. I want to change to become something different. And then what am I going to do about it? Okay. The promise of doing something through a serious action plan. But, one of the seasons of change is like the fading of the leaves in autumn, where people steal your dreams and your dreams fade away again, like Kim said, and you go back to your old habits. And it's really important that you have to allow yourself every single day to dream again. Every single day, like Kim said, it's a daily practice. It's not, I've changed. No. Every single day is an opportunity for you to say, I can renew myself. I can get better. I can have more. I can be more valuable. And I can change that way. The energy of change only starts with the movement of the action. And I think that's so important to write down. If you don't do anything, nothing. So you cannot sit still. You can't read your way into change. You can read to become wise, but the wise person changes through the action and the experiences of what they've learned through their readings. Okay. Otherwise, you could be a fat broke philosopher that's just learned in just reading. You have to act. It's really important. So I'm saying to you, the rustling of the leaves to me, and when I hear it, is a reminder that there has to be movement, and I have to stop waiting to be motivated. My progress in change doesn't mean that things have to be perfect. It means for me to start, to have momentum in moving myself in a direction. And, we've always learned that an imperfect planned action is better than no plan at all, just thinking about it. You've got to get up and do something. Let me just pause here for a minute because I just want to go around the grounds. I don't want to talk at people. I want to talk with people. Karen, what are you thinking here at the moment?
What am I thinking? Everything that you're saying is correct. Um, and I think we spoke about it last week, if you've got some goals, you'll take action if those goals mean something to you. Otherwise, you'll just stay where you are. You won't change. And I think when I look at it, is that in regards to my change, it's just new perspectives and just refining of what I already am. I love my life. I'm happy. I love who's in my life. And generally, it's just cleaning some stuff out, getting rid of the old, in with the new. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great reflection. I mean, just write this down. Every experience contributes to a new beginning or a new becoming. Write that one down. Doesn't have to be a new beginning. It's what you're becoming. Every experience shapes you and forms you to what you're becoming in the future. So you've got to sit in a place constantly. And this is, I think, a really overused word, but it's never a word that I see practiced really properly, in a place of gratitude. A gratitude for everything that happens in your life, you've got to be grateful for. Not grateful for the material things, you've got to be grateful for the hard things as well. Grateful for the lessons, grateful for the challenges. You've got to be grateful for all the struggles, because it's only through the struggles that you'll develop the strength. And if everything was perfect and something goes wrong, well, the only reason you let a kid get a cold is so they can struggle to build their immune system so they can fight off a bigger disease later. You've got to sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable. You can't sit there and say, oh, I wish everything was perfect. I wish everything was perfect. Well, that's just kind of like not reality. And there's another philosophy that says, if everything was perfect, just hang around. The good Lord will shake something to make it imperfect for you to grow again, because he wants you to grow through the challenges of everything. So there has to be a turning point. And let me tell you where the turning point happens. It's nothing external. The turning point for me is always internal. It's always like that, God, Wayne, it's got to be you. It's got to be, what are you hearing within? And here's a great question. This one always trips me up. I wrote it down. It's in bold here. What are you pretending about now? What are you pretending about? Because I think most people go through life pretending that everything's okay, pretending everything's perfect, sweeping a few things under the carpet, pretending that, something's going to fall out of the sky, pretending it's going to get better. I always say, what am I pretending not to know? What am I pretending about now? And I think the hard question for me, and again, I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you guys, is that transformation comes from the truth. You've got to have a hard look at yourself and give yourself a reality check. A reality check for exactly where you're at, and more importantly, where you want to be. And somewhere between the truth and, where you want to be is that void, and that's where you've got to move. You know, the reality is you can't heal what you can't hide. So best you be open and transparent with yourself, and maybe a couple of good people around you where you have that teary conversation and say, well, this is exactly where I'm at. This is my reality. It's not a facade. It's not that I want to pretend. It's the truth. And the truth for most people is their reality of where they're at. Gresh, what are you feeling?
Well, a lot of these thoughts were sparked up from the LDW, and it gave me an itch again because I sort of didn't give up, but like I was very comfortable with where I was at. And then I had a talk with my partner Kate, and I said, I'm gonna give it a go again because where I'm at right now financially, I'm happy with, but I wanna earn it the same way with Herbalife. So then when we have kids later down the track, I can be time free rather than right now I'm not time free. So I've put a plan in action. It's going to start next weekend, no, sorry, this weekend coming. Sorry, I apologize. And yeah, it sparked a new light in me.
Yeah, and I think it's an until process. Start again, stopping again. Is that failure? Maybe it is. Maybe you get comfortable. Maybe you start, you give up. Maybe you say, well, that's just my fate in life. And the reality is you've always got to be challenged. Kim Bromer's challenged. I'm challenged. Herbalife's challenged. We're all challenged. No matter who you are in your life, no matter where you're at, you've got your challenges. The trick is to face up to them and say, okay, be brave enough to face your own reflection of the truth. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm challenged. I'm challenged. I'm not where I want to be. And that's actually a good thing, to be honest with yourself. And then you've got the ability to move forward. Kim?
Yes, and I think you were telling me about, and we discussed that book by Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. One of the real great things about when you're in that position, when you hit that spot, is one of the things that Dan said was, "This too," or Socrates said, "This too shall pass." And so, if you're not in a good place, you got, okay, no, this too shall pass. And that's one of the things about the seasons of life. It's when winter comes and it smashes everything, hey, spring's going to come next. So that's going to come. So, but you actually have to do something. You can't just be yelling, from your chair affirmations, and you actually got to put some action in place and do some things. So, yeah. Look, for me at the moment, a lot of people look at me and they go, "Well, I'm blessed. I've got a great business. I set up some good leadership, and this time in my life, I'm 71, and I've got this incredible, opportunity with the products and the business, and I want to do life a little bit more. But because I started buying things, I started to actually, those things I don't own, they own me. I'm trying to declutter so that Mariani and I can just go and travel. We'll just go, okay, we're going to spend 3 months in Indonesia, and we've got 3 months here in Malaysia, 3 months here. So, but we've got these things that own us, and we can't, we've got to let go. We've got to, get rid of them, declutter in a sense, so that we can be free to be able to, share what we have.
Yeah. I think most people feel like, even here in the Southern Hemisphere, because some people might listen to this later and say, well, we're going into winter, and winter, represents a little bit of stillness and resilience. It's cold, you want to be indoors, there are many times in winters, you want to give up because it's hard, but throughout the winter is where, and the winter of your life I'm talking about now for us all, is where true strength comes. It's in the hard times where you've got to say, okay, it's time for me not to rest, but to prepare for my next season, which is going to be my summer, where I'm going to actually excel and grow and become something. And, I think it's so important to understand that, again, the essence of this call is that nothing stays the same forever. But what are you doing about the future? What are you preparing for now? One of the laws that I've learned in my life, and it's a mindset of mastery, is the law of non-attachment. I can't be attached to anything anymore because I know it's not going to be there forever, nor am I going to be here forever. But what can I do to build my legacy? What can I do to build something for my future? Okay, what actions have I got that I can put into place now? That place of gratitude is really important to sit and reflect on, because you have to be grateful for what you've already achieved. You can't beat yourself up and say, oh, I'm good for nothing, I've done nothing. No, each and every one of us on this call has done something. We've done a lot. But what I'm trying to say is don't be complacent with whatever cards you've already been dealt. Sunitha, we go on for about another 5 minutes, okay? And then you're free to run free, or you can disconnect whenever you want to go. That's entirely up to you. But it's lovely to see you again. I only saw you 48 hours ago, so it's lovely to see you on the call again. I might go to Patrick. Patrick, change. You've been through several changes in your life. You've been, single, married, divorced, kids, no kids, young kids, grown-up kids, babies. Oh my goodness. How do you cope with it all?
Yes, when change is necessary in life, like this is something I learned, throughout my life, living in Cameroon, in Africa, and then I moved to Vietnam, and I learned that it's necessary to change if you want to have something you don't have yet. Yeah, so change is a good thing. Why? Because you actually develop and you learn so much, when you get yourself uncomfortable. Like right now, where I am right now, I will be honest with you, I'm in a comfort zone. I've been through changes after changes. And then as you start making really good income, it's easy to get comfortable. Yeah, and similar with like Kim was mentioning. I'm not sure if that's what he was mentioning, but I will talk about my own self. When you're broke, you only have little problem at your level. As you start making money, everything grows. You have property, you buy nice car, you send your kids to this, you get that, da, da, da. And now you're like, damn, that's a lot of money I'm spending left and right. I'm paying taxes. So I need to get myself uncomfortable again so I can make more money where I could be a little bit more comfortable there. So for me, change is necessary. You cannot avoid it. If you want to grow, if you want to succeed, challenges are part of, it's the process to success. Like when I'm not challenged, when I'm not facing challenges, I know I'm not going to grow. I know, it's not like lottery where you buy a ticket and you win. You still have to buy that ticket. So I will encourage anyone facing challenges right now to love them and to face them, because you're going to come out of whatever challenge you're facing now, you're going to come out a much better person. And I'm always looking for challenges. Not that I love them, to be honest, but I know if I'm not challenged, I will not grow. If I'm not facing difficulty, if I'm not uncomfortable, I will not grow. So everything you mentioned tonight, perfect. Like gratitude is one thing I always start my day with. Regardless, it's like I'm grateful for, because somebody somewhere is praying, is working so hard to be where I am. It's so important. Somebody, where you are right now and that you hate, you don't love it, you don't like it. This is somebody's goals and dreams. They will give anything. That used to be my goals and dream, to just be living in a country like Australia. To be honest, I was like, oh my God, if I can go to Australia one day, my gosh, That's all I wanted. And then I came here, I'm like, I started complaining, yeah? Oh, it's like that. But I didn't know about gratitude back then. But now I'm grateful. I'm like, I'm a president team. How many people want to get to president team? Okay. I know I'm stressing about getting to 15K, 20K, 30K. And I always say, I'm grateful because somebody wants my salary. Somebody wants my problems. And then the rest is just facing challenges. So don't run away from challenges. Like, you're not looking for them, but if one is in front of you, deal with it, face it. Don't run away. The longer you run away, you're delayed. It's like delaying. You're delaying. What is possible for you. So that's my point of view. Right?
I love it. I'm going to give you 2 lines that I wrote down, and you can write these down because these are just messages to myself. Then we'll hand it up to Kim, and then we'll close the call. So this is what I wrote to myself. Wayne, the wind is blowing. Can you hear it? My wind is blowing. Can you hear it? I wrote, it's time to rise, to move, and to start living fully again. I write this, the winds are blowing and they're whispering my name. And they may be whispering your name. So if you feel it, guys, if you can sense it and feel that the wind blowing, then the reality is listen for whatever name it's whispering. Kim, back to you, my friend.
Thank you, Wayne. And just on that with the wind, and this is a Jim Rowanism, and the same wind is blowing on us all. It's actually the setting of the sails. And, sometimes you've got to go back and look at your sails. And I've gone back and I'm looking at all the things that I was doing in the last 60 days and going, okay, where am I needing to refine things? How do I need to set the sails a little bit more to achieve the things that I want to achieve? And, it's a constant, it's got to be constant, just the same way that you do with, your personal development. It actually has to be, a habit. It's got to become a habit, so it's done automatically. And then it doesn't have to be a lot, but it has to be done automatically.